Good afternoon. Thanks for tuning in. You're watching Ask BQ on Bloomberg Quint Live. I'm Navneet Saluja D'Souza.
Hi Navneet, I'm Alex Matthew. If you've got questions on equity, do send them to us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube and WhatsApp. You can also call us on 022-454-04141 or you can mail us on askbq@bloombergquint.com. Only make sure to add the AskBQ hashtag. Now, it's earnings season and we've got another earnings to talk about. NMDC's June quarter met analyst expectations. Both iron ore and minerals segment witnessed strong growth and average realizations per ton went up by 5%. Darshan Mehta had a chat with the Director of Finance, Amitava Mukherjee. Listen in.
I think that these results for Q1 have been really encouraging. We are very satisfied with it. Mostly because this entire upswing in income is because of higher production, higher sales. As you know, our production has gone up by 21%, sales by 28% at 86.7 lakh tons. And these are unprecedented numbers. If you have a like-to-like comparison, excluding Doni Mulai, these are numbers which are absolutely unprecedented, the best in 60 years for our existing mines on a like-to-like basis. Realizations have been fairly steady. They have not been very high as compared to last year. The average realization, including the exports, were around 3705 this quarter as compared to around 3500 in the previous quarter. But the domestic realizations have been almost at par. 35.28 I think this quarter as compared to 35.36. That's almost equal as compared to the Q1 of last year.
The other part we wanted to ask you, sir, is that with global iron ore prices correcting and a couple of Odisha miners taking price cut, can we anticipate NMDC to do the same?
Look, pricing is a confidential and a sensitive issue when we cannot discuss that. But we can tell you that a lot of factors are taken into account while pricing. That includes international markets, that includes how other domestic players are pricing. So when the pricing call is taken, normally it's a very confidential and a very sensitive issue. But I can assure you that we have a very scientific mechanism which takes care of all the parameters, including how the export, how the international markets, how the Indian markets in other sectors work. But as such, it is not for me to speculate at this level, at this stage, what the pricing would be in the near or immediate future.
When will Doni Mulai start operations? The judgment has already come in favor of your company.
Yes, to restart a mine, one has to go through a long procedure of obtaining clearances, signing of agreements, and things like that. A lot of clearances, including that of forest, etc., needs to be obtained, and that is a process that one has to undergo. It is difficult to put a timeline to the entire process because a multiplicity of approvals and then agreement signing is required. So it will be difficult to put a timeline or a particular date to it. But yes, the process is underway.
Okay, one of the analyst reports that I read did indicate that there was some bit of production challenges at the Baladila complex in Chhattisgarh. What's the update there?
You see, if you are talking about right now, of course the monsoons do affect. It has affected every year. In monsoon and because of fogs and because of the rains, it's very difficult for an open cast mine to sustain its production. But so far as Q1 is concerned, as I have told you, both for Kirandul and Bacheli, the two mines at the Baladila sector, the production has been at a record high at Q1 when the weather was okay at that point of time.
Okay, and so my final question, can you leave us with the volume guidance for the balance of the year? What do you see that coming at?
You see, the guidance for FY20 in terms of production was around 32. Production and sale was around 30 plus, or let us say around 32. That's the internal target. And if you add Doni Mulai to it, Doni Mulai has a capacity of 6 million tons. So, which roughly translates into 0.5 to 0.6 million tons per month. As and when it gets operational, we'll have to add that Doni Mulai to our guidance of 32.
All right, that's the management of NMDC commenting on their numbers, in-line set of numbers, and you can see a positive reaction in the stock as well. But let's also take a look as to what's happening with the markets. After yesterday's sharp sell-off, we have seen a rebound coming about, at least for the benchmark indices right now. Nifty has been trading above the mark of 11,000, so that's a positive sign. Gain of almost 1% seen for Nifty. Sensex also sitting with gains of about 350 points. Remember, Bank Nifty has been the one which has been underperforming Nifty in the last many days. It fell over 2% yesterday, and that too has seen a sharp rebound of nearly 1% in trade. Take a look at the broader markets as well. I think they're underperforming the benchmarks clearly. So mid-cap is just up about 25 points. Small-cap index seeing gains of about 10 points. The market breadth will give you a better picture of the entire listed universe. Last when I checked, it was just about even, Stephen. Yep, it's just the same advanced declines right now. And this gives you a better picture of all the stocks that are listed on NSE. Contributors list, which are the stocks which are lending support to the index. So ICICI Bank, HDFC, Reliance and ITC, all the heavyweights out there. And capping the moves are the likes of Sun Pharma, Kotak Mahindra Bank, as well as Wipro stocks are seeing some negative reaction. Just want to quickly highlight a couple of stocks from the broader market. Shriram Transport has been doing well among the NBFC space today, 5.5% gains here. Apollo Hospitals posted good set of numbers. The results were above estimates and positive reaction seen for that one. And a couple of other stocks where earnings came out. Orbit Exports, Newland, where revenues were up 17% and EBITDA up 89%, are seeing positive reaction. Both the stocks are sharply higher in today's trade. On the losing side, Saregama is at 52-week low, locked in lower circuit of 20%, and this is after the numbers came in. Glenmark profits were down 52%, and you can see the reaction 7.5% lower. Nalco is the other one where the numbers were below estimate. Chemical segment of the company disappointed, and that stock's also down 4.5%. And Bharat Forge at 52-week low. Once again, a result reaction, profits down 26%, Alex.
All right, that's how the markets look at the moment. Let's get our two experts in for the day. Sharmila Joshi, independent investment advisor, and Sameet Chavan of Angel Broking are here to answer all of your queries. I do want to point out what Sameet's pick is for you. He sent one for you. He said that you can buy Tata Steel at the current price with a target of 385 and a stop loss on this trade of 352. The stock is up and about just about 4.5% higher in trade today. I do want to take a question to Sameet. Sameet, we've seen a lot of volatility in the last couple of sessions. Yesterday we saw major sellings, and Reliance was the only one that was holding up the benchmark. How are you looking at trades in the near term?
Hi Alex. See, honestly speaking, despite yesterday's correction, we were of the opinion that for a time being 10,800, 850 is likely to act as a support. And today we saw a gap up opening followed by strong follow-up up move. So from a data point of view, also now till yesterday 11,000 call writers were quite active, but today if you see the unwinding started in the initial hour itself, and now if you see 11,000 put writers are quite active. So we believe that this expiry is likely to pan out beyond 11,000, and probably in the latter half, if we again surpasses 11,050, then we could see another bout of sharp short covering move, probably towards 11,100, 11,150. So as of now, for a time being, we believe that the fall has been arrested. 10,800 likely to act as support, and we would expect some kind of relief move, 10,200, then 10,300.
Okay, so that's the technical view coming in on markets, and as Sameet was highlighting the options data, today's the weekly options expiry. You can expect a bit of volatility in the second half, so keep an eye on that one. Let's start taking some queries. The first one comes from Hari Kiran, and Sharmila, I'm going to come to you. He's asking, out of these stocks, which one to sell now in his portfolio? He's highlighted stocks like Praj Industries, Nossel, Motherson Sumi, Future Consumer, and he's planning to sell 2 stocks among these. So which one would you advise him to sell?
I think out of this list, actually, I only honestly like Motherson Sumi, and there is sort of concern over the fact that a lot of their business is Europe facing, and things could look a little tough for them from that perspective. But very honestly, once things recover, that's the stock that I really like in this list. From the other stocks, I think I'm sort of neutral on both Praj Industries and Nossels. Both have their advantages and disadvantages. I think recently there was a bit of a positive flow for Praj Industries when they signed an order overseas for some ethanol project. But I think that's also these ethanol projects are also the order flow is not something that is always constant. It is also dependent on sugar as a commodity and how it is doing globally, etc. So, from that perspective also, though the company has honestly done a lot of work within that space. So perhaps between NOSIL and Praj, maybe I would lean a little bit more towards Praj. So I think that would really be my suggestion for the stocks that I would, Motherson Sumi and Praj would be the stocks that I would go with.
Okay. Hold on to Praj and Motherson Sumi. Let's take another question. We've got Krishna writing in. He's looking for a technical and fundamental view on Tata Elxsi. I'm going to come to you, Sameet, first on the charts. It's hit a 52-week low today, and it's bounced back from that level. But how do you see it in the near term?
See, honestly speaking, there has been no respite. The massive correction started last month when the stock, breached its, crucial support level of 800, 820, and since then, we've already seen a relentless correction of nearly 25-30%. Yes, today's stock corrected, and we have seen some kind of recovery in this stock. If you look at the daily chart, we are seeing some kind of positive divergence in RSI. So that suggests that probably in the near term, the stock is poised for some kind of relief move. But as of now, we are avoiding fresh buy in this stock, but those who have bought it, they should certainly stay put. 590, 580 for a time being remains to be a very strong support. And on the higher side, if any level has to be seen, then 643, 645 is the level to watch out for.
Okay, let's also take a fundamental view. Sharmila, how do you rate the fundamentals? It's seen a significant correction, as Sameet was pointing out, since the start of the year.
Well, the numbers this quarter weren't particularly good either. So, I think that's the difficulty with mid-cap IT. Because you sort of like the one of the reasons why you like the sector was that they were sort of dedicated towards one vertical. And if that vertical did well, then, they would give results that sort of beat the rest of the sector. But now what we're seeing is that there is in fact a slowdown. Like Tata Elxsi, for instance, has a lot of exposure towards autos as a sector. So a lot of the solutions that they are providing are for autos, and we are seeing that, witnessing that slowdown, not just on the domestic front, but even globally with what is happening in the US, China, their trade war, as well as Brexit concerns building up in Europe. So this has been a sort of a lean period for autos, and that is, I think, reflected in Tata Elxsi's numbers. So it's a stock I like, but I think that you will need to see recovery in this, in the space they cater to before you really bet on big things for the stock. So, if you have the stock, hold it, but I think for fresh purchase, you can probably wait a bit.
Okay, that's the fundamental view on Tata Elxsi, a counter which came under selling pressure after posting its June quarter numbers. Abhijit Kamaru writes to us, and he wants fundamental view on Cholamandalam Investment and Finance. The stock has been resilient on year-to-date basis, still giving you some bit of returns of about 4 to 5%. Sharmila, if I could come back to you on Cholamandalam Investment, I think the numbers were also not bad. They posted a volume growth of about 26%.
Precisely, I think that within the NBFC space, there are probably very few names that you can go with at this point in time, which you feel that numbers are okay, and perhaps going forward things would, they'd manage well in a tough situation, and Cholamandalam is one of those stocks. I think the other stocks that you could probably add to the list would be the Bajaj twins. So I think, yes, definitely if you have any of these, continue to hold them.
Okay, we've got a question on InfoEdge technology. Actually, that's a private. Okay, let's try and pull this up. Sapna Samal is looking for a view on InfoEdge. Let's talk about that counter. It's trading 1.8% lower in trade today. Sameet, on the charts, how do you see this moving?
See, there are a handful of stocks that have done well over the past couple of years from the broader market, and this has been one of those outperforming stocks. Stock has been reluctant to fall. It has already given decent rally, and since last couple of months it has slipped into a consolidation mode. So this is more of a consolidation mode, a time-wise correction phase for this particular counter. I would rather give you the range for this counter, 20 to 50 on the higher side. If the stock managed to surpass, we could see this higher degree uptrend resuming, and in that case the stock can head towards 2400, 2500 as well. And on the lower side, 2000, 2050 for a time being would act as a very strong support.
Okay, Info Edge this year is up nearly 50% in trade. Michael JB writes to us and he's got a query on Sunteck Realty. Let's just pull up that stock. He's suggesting he's sitting on a profit of about 10% right now. What he wants to know whether he should look to sell or is the long-term fundamental story of this company is still intact and the stock's actually doing well today, Sharmila. It's up about 5% and they've diversified, also announced projects into affordable housing and I think for the longest time Street has been quite bullish on the unsold inventory in BKC that they've been sitting on.
Oh, well, honestly, I don't track Sunteck and my overall view on real estate is not all that good, simply because I think this unsold inventory is going to pose a big problem. I think the good point, as you mentioned, is that they are in affordable housing and perhaps that is the lesser hit space within the entire housing space. But overall, I think things are not looking good for real estate. In terms of the prices, prices haven't gone up in the last 5 or 6 years, which is as good as saying prices have corrected really honestly, because if they haven't appreciated, then it's not a sector that's where people will want to put money. In the sense, developers and financials, they're not getting the money out of projects. So overall, for me, honestly, the complete sector is an avoid with the exception of maybe a stock like a Godrej Properties or something. So I would really avoid
Point
this.
well taken. Liquidity crisis has hit sectors like realty as well as autos and the impact has been visible in the financials of a couple of these companies. But very quickly, Sameet, if somebody is sitting on a 10% profit on Sunteck Realty, what are the charts indicating? What would you advise?
See, Navneet, of late it is rare to see anyone making profits on the long side, and since he's getting 10%, I would rather ask him to book profits. If not fully, at least partially, he should book out. And yes, structure is positive. Stock has given decent recovery in last 4 or 5 days, so he can now tail his stop loss around 440 and at least book out your partial profits.
Okay, Vardman Shah is asking an interesting question. Sharmila, this one's for you on Britannia Industries. He's got a long-term view on the stock, but he's asking if this is the right time to enter. And that's the question really, because it's really how you see the consumption theme moving in the near term, right? Would you pick Britannia at this point or would you wait for some clarity on where we are heading?
Well, the kind of space that Britannia is in would lead, I would think that over a longer period they should be okay, because at the end of the day they are selling bakery products and confectionaries which would find demand picking up once the consumption cycle returns. So I think what we really need to ask ourselves, rather than second guessing when the consumption cycle returns, because that is very, very difficult to assess and analyze at this point in time, because very honestly at some level we are also in a denial whether we are seeing any structural slowdown or is it just monsoon or if it's a temporary thing. So I think while those things get answered, what we need to think is that in terms of numbers, for instance, if you ask me, Britannia quarter numbers were a little disappointing in the kind of volume degrowth that they showed, and for a product like what they sell, it was a little surprising. From that perspective, purely from a results perspective, I think I prefer Dabur's numbers, because their numbers didn't show that slowdown, and they also have a big rural facing basket, and in spite of that their numbers look good. Again, I think ITC could be another stock that could be looked at, because the stock price hasn't moved for a long time, and again over there one expects the non-cigarette business to pick up. But that said, because of their valuation they seem okay. But even with Britannia, I would go with it if my view was significantly long term, and try and buy it on dips. That would be the only advice really.
Okay, so as of now, Sharmila likes stocks like Dabur as well as IDC, looking at the June quarter numbers. I want to pull up the chart of Himadri Specialty Chemicals. Narendran Raman writes to us, and he's currently making loss of about 25%. What he wants to know is, should he look to average now at current levels of this stock? And it's at 83, Sameet, 25% into loss. Should he average, should he stay put, or should he look to exit?
See, at least on the weekly chart, now I can see some encouraging signs, some early signs of revival. Last week, price action was quite encouraging. Stock gave a V-shaped recovery from the low levels of 61, 62, and has formed, piercing pattern, which is a bullish pattern. So I would ask him to, yes, average it out, but only once the stock surpasses 86. That would confirm this, price pattern. So he can buy above 86, but he'll have to keep strict stop loss below 70.
Sharmila, for the next 10 years, Voice of the Lamb wants to know whether his portfolio is going to hold the test of time. IDFC First Bank, Tata Global Beverages, Titan and Rail Vikas Nigam are his picks. Would you advise him to sell any of these or hold on to these for the next 10 years?
First of all, I think that whole 10-year sort of reasoning is something that I don't really agree with anymore, because I think now disruptions come and they come very severely and they come very quickly. So you need to keep tracking your portfolio every 6 months, once a year. You really need to revisit and see what is happening with your stocks. Secondly, out of this list, I think we said IDFC first, Tata Global, Titan, and RVNL.
Yeah.
I think out of those, I don't like RVNL at all. Because I don't know, that's not the kind of business that I would want to stay invested in for 10 years, because, these typically Rail Vikas and all that, these PSUs are a little tricky, because, they only go out twice a year when you have that railway budget coming or something like that. And you're never really clear what kind of margins they're getting and what are the projects that are coming their way, etc. So I would really avoid RVNL. And I think even IDFC first has given me no reason to really like it so far. When IDFC came as a bank, great things were expected, but they didn't really deliver on the numbers. Now they've merged with Capital First, so expectations have been raised again. But there is nothing in the numbers so far to suggest that this is really going to, their merger with Capital First is really going to take things forward for them. So maybe I'd put that on a watch list and let a couple of quarters roll and see whether that's that synergy sort of building in their numbers and they're really able to take it forward. Tata Global is a stock that I do like within this list, because now they've acquired the retail business from Tata Chemicals, and hopefully they'll grow that, because then you will see this, which was earlier just like a coffee or a trading sort of a business. You'll probably start seeing it getting more and more FMCG type valuations. So Tata Global is a definite yes from me. And Titan, again, I think the management didn't sound very optimistic about the coming quarters, but yes, I think just given the fact that their jewelry business, the way it is poised, and that even in a tough environment, their results weren't bad. They weren't good, and they were sort of okay. And it was, I think, what really hit the stock more was the valuation that the stock was trading at, and the fact that the management voiced a note of caution. So those two stocks I would definitely keep, but I'd put IDFC first on a watch list, and RVNL I would definitely exit.
Okay, it's time to hit the rapid fire segment, but before we begin, just a request to both our experts, Sharmila as well as Sameet, please keep your answers short so that we can accommodate as many queries as possible. Sameet, this one comes to you on Wipro, a short-term view required by Tapan Reddy, and also Amit wants to know if you would advise going short at current levels.
Yes, if the stock manages to close below 255 today, then probably you can go short on Friday, keeping the stop loss around 262 and target would be around 245. But today's closing below 255 would be crucial.
Sharmila, HCL Tech for the long term, would you advise a fresh entry?
Yes,
Just be having a problem with Sharmila's audio. Let's talk about Sun Pharma on the charts. Debarpan wants to know, Sameet, what would you advise? Fresh entry?
See, honestly speaking, yesterday's price action was deceptive. We can call it as a false signal whipsaw, and today's stock has given a nosedive. So 408 is the level to watch out for, below which we can see further sell-off in this counter.
Sameet, HDFC Life, Vivek has already got at 322. What he wants to know, should he look to add more at current levels?
See, I guess don't average more, rather keep holding your existing position and keep revising stop losses. Now a stop loss would be around 470 for his existing position.
Okay, well, let's talk about Reddington India. Do you have a view, Sameet, on the charts? If you can pull it up.
No, I think the volume activity has dried down, so I would avoid this counter.
Any thoughts on Aditya Birla Fashion at 192? How are the charts looking, Sameet?
See, stock has been consolidating, so there's a defined range, at least in the near term, 210 on the higher side, 180 on the lower side.
Sameet, Asian Paints on the chart. We've got Puneet who's looking for a short-term view.
See, overall structure still remains bullish, but one has to understand that low-hanging fruit is already gone. So, fresh buying at current level is not advisable.
Any thoughts on SBI Life on the charts, Sameet?
See, I mean, this has been one of the outperforming stocks. Looks good. Those who have bought it at lower level, they should certainly stay put and keep a stop loss around 735.
Okay, Sharmila is back. Sharmila, Goa Carbon, would you recommend a fresh entry?
No, I wouldn't, because I think overall my views turn negative on the sector.
All right. Well, I think we've covered most of the questions that we received today. On that note, thank you so much to both our guests. Thanks, Sharmila and Sameet, for helping our viewers with all the questions that you did answer today. On that note, that's all we have for you in this edition of Ask BQ. But do stay tuned. There's a lot more coming up on Bloomberg Quint.
Thanks for watching.